All right. Good morning, good afternoon to all of you from all over the world. Welcome to our another Drupa webinar on MMServices. You already had Drupa webinars on MM Startup, MM Improve, on parts, on support, on inspect. So what's missing now is a webinar on MMUptodate and MMSelect. And that's what we are going to talk a little bit about today. It's myself, you all know me, Adrian, and I guess you also all know Stefan Kocher, who is next to me. So we do the presentation together and hope to give you some useful information for your daily business and also useful information as preparation for the upcoming Drupa. Audio seems to work, otherwise you need to tell me. Screen sharing seems to work as well, so we can dive in right away. That's the two of us, you know already. And then rules of conduct as usual. We record this presentation. That means you can use it also for self-study afterwards. Actually, our CEO goes through these webinars with a playing speed of 1.5 or 1.7. So it goes everything much quicker, and only if it's really some important information, then he goes down to speed 1. So use these recordings and make use of it. After today's session, you receive a link to the recording as well as a link to the presentation. So you will have all the information at hand. During the presentation, nothing new to you. Turn off your microphone, please, so we don't have the noise from all over the world around, or we hear Mike drinking his coffee. And if you have questions, please send them by chat. Usually I have an eye on the chat, so if there's something around, we answer it right away. Otherwise, we answer it at the end of the meeting. Topics we are going to cover today is a short update on lifecycle management. Most of you had this hybrid training sessions on sales and service excellence with from Catalyst Global, so either Tony Kenny or one of his partners, where there was a lot of information, a lot of talk on our lifecycle management initiative. We will give you a short update on that. Then we talk specifically on our MMUptodate program and on our MMSelect label. Furthermore, we give you some information on our Drupa booth, particularly on the service corner, what we're going to show there. This will, of course, be repeated or comes again during the Drupa briefing day. For those of you who will join Drupa, you will get more information during this day. The presentation closes with some useful links, always with the aim that all the information you have here, you can easily find and make use of it. You should all be familiar with this. Our MMServices Navigator was part of the training held by Felix already. So this will also be prominently at display in our Drupa booth. Therefore, my message to you, please make sure that you are familiar with the story behind this service navigator, with the individual labels, and also with the statements about the life cycle management. I don't go into the details here anymore. I assume you know it already. Otherwise, in the recordings from Felix, you'll find all the language to be used when explaining the navigator. Sorry, I'm a bit of a cold, but shouldn't be a major influence. Then when we talk about lifecycle management, also these few next slides are most of a repetition, but as it is such an important subject nowadays in our communication towards the customer, we felt it's useful and necessary to give another repetition on that, an update on this message. So when we talk about lifecycle management, then it's basically about showing our customers that when they buy a machine from us, when they purchase a machine, it is not just the purchase of a machine. It's the start of a 20-year, 15-year long relationship between our customer and Miller Martini. And we need to make sure and we need to show that we are the strong partner who is there throughout the life cycle of this piece of equipment. That doesn't mean that we can do everything throughout these 20 years of machine lifetime. But what we need to ensure is that we are transparent about how much we can support the customer through the different stages from year 1 to year 15, 18, 20, whatsoever. So in the end, it's all about communication, early, clear, and open communication about how much service and legacy knowledge we can provide, how much we can support in terms of spare parts and upgrades, and in which status the machine is. And of course, key point for a customer is to know when a machine is coming into the obsolete status. To put it in short words, lifecycle management in the end is about manage the expectation of the customer, help the customer to protect his productivity by knowing what we can do, what we can provide, and what we cannot provide, and take the right decisions at the right time. And in the end, of course, help the customer to manage his risks. This is nothing new. It's just brought together on one slide again. I'm sure you heard this several times already, but it's important. And we need to strengthen this communication to the customers. I know in some areas, in some countries, this is part of daily business. Other regions, other countries are a bit more careful in taking up this message, but there's no way around. We need to talk about life cycle management. Of course, the language, depending on the cultural background, can be a bit more straightforward or a bit more softened, but in the end, we need to show what we need to show what we can deliver and not overpromise anything. It goes basically back to this slide here. You maybe remember from the Tony Kenny sessions. It's the rule number 8 of service. Only promise what you can deliver and then deliver what you have promised. Related to life cycle management, that means we proactively and honestly inform our customers of what we can deliver to support their machines. And then we need to make sure that we actually deliver what we have promised them. And then we are considered, hopefully, as a professional and trusted, strong partner, and not just a machine supplier. That's not what we want to be. We want to be the strong partner for our customers. Life cycle stages: active, secured, limited, and obsolete. Again, if I look at the audience here, I assume that's nothing new to you. With the active status where the equipment is actively sold, so price positions are in our price list. We of course give the full level of support. There are all the extension capabilities, and also parts are fully available. Once we take the machine out of the price list, we discontinue actively selling a machine. It goes over into the secured status. We have selected extensions and upgrades still available. Support is still granted, be it first level, second level, or third level. And in general, we also have guaranteed parts availability. Of course, this can happen that a part is out of stock and we are not able to deliver right away. But in general, in secured status, we have parts availability secured. Unlimited extensions are no longer available. And on the support side, there might be limitations to first and second level on-site support, very much depending on the local circumstances. If you have local people around with knowledge on this limited machine, then of course you can promise more to the customer with regard to support services. And this will not be identical on all the regions throughout all the countries. Third level support, however, might be limited for limited machines, so you cannot grant on third level support anymore. When it comes to Uptodate products, it's a limited availability of upgrades and mainly retrofits to extend the lifespan of the machine. And also on parts, part availability is limited. This mainly is valid for discontinued purchase parts. In there, of course, frequently electronic components which have a shorter lifespan, and especially a lifespan we cannot really influence. In obsolete, it's quite clear our services are narrowed down to an absolute minimum. First level support is only on the principle of best effort. Upgrades are not available anymore. Extensions are no more available. And in parts, the parts availability is restricted to parts which are also used in other active or secured machines. So we do not maintain parts in general only for obsolete machines. Again, these are the generic statements. There might always be exceptions from the spare parts center if they see that a specific part for an obsolete machine still generates good revenue. They will not actively discontinue it. They will continue selling it as long as the revenue is still in a good range. But definitely towards the customer, an obsolete, if a customer, when it's about the risk management, if a customer relies on obsolete equipment only, he definitely has a production risk in his facility. And he needs to be aware of that because it does not help to close the eyes and to put your head in the sand and neglect this reality because it's actually a fact. We have quite a few tools to convey the LCM message or to help you communicate the LCM message to the customers. One is our MMServices brochure, where we have a rough explanation on LCM on page 22-23. Second is our LCM brochure, which goes a bit more into the details and which is actually quite a good tool, a helpful tool to explain the concept, the reasoning behind LCM to a customer. I assume you all know this brochure. It's available on the MMServices section on the portal. Briefly open it. Of course, it opens up on the wrong screen, but this is something we can correct easily. So that's this brochure, two-pager, which gives a quick, comprehensive overview on LCM. What's important that you're maybe not all aware of it, that the life cycle status on our equipment can also be seen within MPower. In MPower, we have basically two views. We have internal view, we have the customer view. If I go into MPower with an internal view, and I took the German customer Elanders as an example, first log in. That's my password, so please close your eyes. Briefly change to English here. So here I'm on Elanders in Donau Wörth, and this customer on the entry page, we as Müller-Martini employees have an overview on the installed lines. There are two Vareos, one Diamond MC photo book, and when we dive deeper in, we see every serialized piece of equipment with its machine type, its description, when it was manufactured, and most important over here, for color-coded the LCM status. How do I know that this is only visible to Müller-Martini people? I know it because of that symbol here. So every page within MPower where you see this Müller-Martini logo indicates that this information is only to users which belong to the group Müller-Martini, so which are internal users, and not to users from the customer. We need your support in improving these data. We have a lot of data in the system within Business One, which then is also visible in MPower. So it's all based on Business One data. Please, if you see something which seems weird, which is not correct, let us know by using the feedback button here. Tell us which customer, what is not correct in your point of view, so we have a chance to correct it. This is now the internal view of the installed base and their respective LCM status. We also have the customer view. The customer sees the lifecycle status of the main equipment in the equipment module. If we have a look at Elanders again, same customer in the equipment module, we see again the three lines with the respective lifecycle status, LCM secured, active, and secured. Now you might ask, okay, Vareo, but Vareo is an active, sales active machine. Basically right, but the LCM status always relates to a machine type, not to a trade name. And as you know, in the meantime, Vareo is the Vareo Pro, so it's a newer generation, and the machine type of the current Vareo Pro is actually 3040.0413. So that's the machine type we are currently selling. This one here, for the 412, is a previous release, and therefore we stopped selling it actively. That's why it is in status secured. Nothing for the customer to worry about. Secured still provides him the full range of services. So these are the sources of information, both for us internally as Müller-Martini guys and for the customer. Lifecycle management basically has different levels. First thing is, of course, start a conversation about lifecycle management. Customer needs to be aware of what it is, what we do, what's the impact for him. If we go deeper into the discussion, and especially with larger customers, this is frequently the case, then it is not just an LCM discussion, it's an LCM consultancy. So we consult the customer on his life cycle give recommendations on the life cycle strategy. And that's why Stefan has established this three-stage concept, where stage one comprises of a standard LCM report we can deliver to customer, where he has a quick overview on the installed base of his equipment, together with some additional information in one easy report. Stage two enhances this report with information on critical part, mainly PLC drive and panels. That's always the three most critical parts within a machine: the PLC generation, drive generation, and panel type. And mostly dedicated to the larger groups or larger customers, stage three, which is a full life cycle analysis and audit, with recommendations to the customer. Level of complexity and level of internal efforts increases from stage one to stage three. Stage one is something you can do yourself in the market organization. In stage three, the lead is by the business unit, mainly Stefan Kocher, who is the guy when it comes to this kind of life cycle consultancy, as he has done it very often in mailrooms and now can expand his knowledge to other business areas we have. So there we have the overview. Now let's briefly go into these three stages. Stage one is an LCM report for our customers with a few simple steps. We get data out of the business system, of the B1 system. Using the B1 report, we copy the data from the report into a template and can generate an easy report for a customer. I want to show you briefly how this works. Under this link here, we have this Business One LCM report, which should be accessible to all of you, at least to all Müller-Martini people. When it comes to agent people, it's sometimes a bit more critical. Please try it out if you all have access. In this Müller-Martini Business One reporting LCM report, you indicate the customer name. I go again with Elanders, that's my favorite. Create the report. Now it retrieves the data from the different Business One databases. And now I have the output here. As I just entered Elanders, it goes and searches for all the customers which belong to the Elanders group. That's customers in UK, customers in Germany, customers in Hungary, Poland. So it's a bunch of individual plants which belong to the same group. So if you talk to the group production responsible, for instance, he might be interested in such a report. So these are the data from the system. What you get here: serial numbers, descriptions, machine type, manufacturing year, and life cycle status. Here again, if you see something which is weird, please notice us, respectively notice the service administration of the respective market organization, as they are basically in charge to maintain the equipment data. This is what the customer gets in level one. And to finalize, there is an instruction on how to create such a report. There's a documentation on the report. So you have all the information at hand to be self-sufficient and to create a report, such reports on your own. In the end, this stage one report looks like this. Wrong goes up, opens on the wrong screen. I give a brief explanation on what lifecycle management is, highlight the different status, and what we still do or do not do in each of the status. Then some examples of what we actively do to support our customers with in terms of retrofits, in terms of last buy of spare parts, and so on. The different levels again, and then basically with copy paste, we take the data from the report in here, and this is what we give over to the customer. But this is stage 1. Very straightforward and basically includes just the information, what is installed and what is the respective LCM status. Now I hand over to Stefan to talk a bit more about stage 2.
Yes, thank you much, Adrian. Stage 2 is actually based on the information on stage 1, and therefore I want to try to give you some information why it's so important to take care about the data, the equipment data. You see on the right-hand side in this orange square, the parts we add manually into the report you've seen before. So that's not such a big effort, but you can choose to take this data for panel, for PLC, for drives and schematics and all this important information, either by one of your engineers, most probably an electrician, electric engineer, or also if you think the customer could be able to manage this, to give you this information. Important thing is that you clarify the installed base in advance. That's what Adrian mentioned as well. So it would be a bad thing if you give a lot of effort to your engineer and finally you have the wrong machine equipment physically on site, which does not match to the equipment card in our system, in our Business One. So that's important. So I would first check the physical installed base on site, add it into the system. So then you took first of all care about the data quality, and secondly you can use this data then as a reliable basis to get all this information. As I mentioned, what type of PLC do we have installed, what kind of panel, what kind of drive. Out of this report, we call it intermediate, so that's not the final wording probably, it's just for the training. Out of this first step of this report, we can give some more information regarding what's possible with our information we collected. So now it's a little bit bigger for you to see. That's great. You have this, yes, thank you much. This manually added information. That's what you don't get out of the system. Unfortunately, it would be fine if you would get this as well, but that's manually added information you need to grab, as I said, either by an engineer or by the customer, and fill it in. And then we have two opportunities. One is if you're fit and ready enough to say, well, I know I have some updates or retrofits or opportunities for a orbit generation for the first line, which is line 13 or 17. It's the same types. Then you can fill it in and tell it to the customer, retrofit available for panel, etc. If you are not aware about that, you can get back to the business unit and ask for this information. So we can support you more or less easy if there is something available, or if we have to concentrate on a different way. And now important, if you compare the two orbits from I don't know, do we see the lines online? The Excel line, I guess that should be visible, huh? Line 13. Can you see line 13? Okay.
These ones.
13 and 17, that's the same type. which is with a different PLC, as we can see on line 30 and line 31. And that's exactly the problem we faced so many times. We asked for, please check what's installed in the cabinet of this mentioned machine. That's clear, that's X20 type, or that's clear, it's BNR 2000, whatever. And then finally, we compared to the schematics, and it was not the same. And that's why it's quite important. And why it is so important? Just imagine that can be that on a later generation of PLC, the appropriate panel communicates, but it does not communicate with the older PLC, for example. In this case, it matches, it communicates with both PLCs. And this is a little bit the tricky thing, since we have so many different types of machines with the same brand, the same name, but in behind there were releases after 1 year, after 2 years, after 5 years. And if you have 400 or 500 orbits delivered, that's probably 4 or 5 releases with most probably the same number or the same machine type. And this is so important to have this information, just to define then the correct statement. Is there something possible for retrofit or not? So this is the intermediate report, which gives a little bit a deeper overview as it gives on the lifecycle report from the basis, because there we have only the information, it's active, it's secured, oh, take care, it's limited. And here you can at least give some more information if the customer technically most probably asks, what's my problem in the future? Then you can say this, that, or here.
And I think this is a very nice example where you really see how complex it is to cope with some 20 years of machine history at Müller-Martini. And nowadays, I would say we have a clear definition on machine types, which is followed throughout the company, but that was not always the case in the past. So the assignment of machine types were not always done in the way we do it today. So that's why the stage 2 information becomes relevant to have an in-depth picture. Yes, what is actually installed, because it makes a major difference if we have X20 or EX484 installed, but the machine type in the system is the same.
Both are secure status.
Exactly. So that's something just to make you aware of this situation and make you also a bit, understand why we have these different levels of LCM consultancy. With this information, a customer has already much more information, because he sees which components are really critical. Of course, there can be other components apart from PLC panel and drive, but these are the key components.
Absolutely. So if you go back to the presentation, there is one important thing I want to give you on your way, and that's the expected time required for this checkup. Because if I tell you so much about this critical parts, then it's important what's the effort to get this information out of a cabinet or out of a line, or if you have a binder line, there is much more cabinets, single stitcher or on a trimmer. So I would say, out of our still small experience, but a little bit of experience we have, I would say 1 hour. That should be okay for an entire production line of a binder or of a saddle stitcher, or of a sewing machine, of course. So 1 hour, that's not that much. But to be honest, we really only open the cabinets, and best case you can find everything else, and other ways you take a schematic and grab quickly through the pages to confirm which panel it's installed, or you take it out of the frame. That's an easy thing, an absolute easy thing. Then, if we have bigger customers with quite a big installed base with huge equipment, then we really recommend to go very, very deep into each single detail. So you can see the list on the right-hand side. That's based on an Excel, and this is just an extraction. We can later on open the entire file. That's from a new script, and there we really go into the cabinet and do not only check the PLC and or the main PLC and the drives and the panel. We also go into the details as I/O cards, backplanes, everything which could be critical. So it can easily be that the CPU was purchased from by Mayr Martini on a last call, a last order. But it's not that many times used as probably an interface card, and this gives this a deeper view into the system, what we have installed. Out of this list, we have a chance to edit all the parts, each single parts over the entire equipment, and you can see a summary of each single part. And out of this, customer mostly say, "Wow, I have 48 drives installed of the same type." Yes, that's it. And how many do you have on stock, customer? One of them. So that's the discussion you can lead then and say, well, it's probably a good thing if you would put some more drives in stock, or if the panel is obsolete, I would really recommend to go for a refurbishment or an upgrade, whatever we have available. Then, as I said, it's a little bit more effort. I would say if you have done it 1 or 2 times, you should be able to get it managed in 1 day for the same line, as I said, the binder or saddle stitcher. The bigger work is definitely you open the cabinet. Most of the components are labeled, but many of them are not, and these you have to grab out of the schematics, and then you need to run around the company of a customer site and collect schematics, and that takes time. If you want to have a quick look on a live example. Here we go. So yes, and now you can see a bit bigger, yes. So that's the Excel file which is already prepared. That's over an entire mailroom. Every generation BNR, every generation length, every panel type. And if you make a little bit bigger, Adrian, please, then we can concentrate on the below side, where I told you the total installed parts. There is, for example, do I see a CPU? No, I don't see a CPU at the moment, but there's an I/O card, 27 installed in the entire system, or 182 DM cards. And then the question is, if you go to the customer again and say, what about your stock? And then, okay, 1 or 2, and say, what happens if it breaks? Yeah, then we are in trouble. And that's the discussion which takes hours, probably, but it's important. And I guess that's latest at this step, customers' eyes gets open more and more and more. Say, well, I'm in trouble if I have a problem with one of these parts. And out of this, the conversation starts. What can we do with retrofit for this and that and there, or can we make a spare part strategy on top, or can we combine it? And is there a part we cannot anymore organize? Then we can probably try to repair it. That's the whole story, just to extend the life cycle of the machine for a few years. That's the whole story.
And I was talking before about risk management. So if this is not an eye-opener to a customer, and I mean, it was a mailroom customer, so newspapers need to come out on time and look what is installed and what he has on stock. So this customer definitely was on very, very thin ice.
Yes.
And his production was very risky. And having this on such a sheet of paper, it leads to a completely different discussion with the customer, because customers, that's the reality, we often are not really aware on where they stand. So
if you run through the stocks, or then it's some shelves around and with some parts here and there. And did you ever install it? Oh, no, we're gonna do it if it breaks. And then yeah.
okay. Yeah, I think that was a bit of on this three, on LCM in general, and this particularly on these three stages. Are there any questions right now related to LCM? Otherwise, we would continue on Uptodate. First, when we talk about MMUptodate, I think we always have two different perspectives we need to consider. When we talk about machines in the status as active or secured, then MMUptodate is mainly about helping our customer to handle future needs. So the focus in this status is on flexibility, that we can adapt the machine to changing needs, that it is investment protection, and the machine can be equipped with the right elements also in the future, adapt the machine to new production or market requirements, and add new functionality. So to have the kits ready, the update packages ready, so the customer can be sure, okay, I purchase a machine today. If my requirements change tomorrow, Müller Martini will have something for me to make the machine fit to these new requirements. This is handle future needs, and this applies mainly to active and secured machines. When it's about limited machines, partly also already in secured status, then it is about we help you to manage your risks by providing mainly retrofit packages, which lead to an extension of the life cycle of the machine, provide packages which ensure the quality and the reliability of the production, and to handle specifically obsolescence risk issues.
There's a quick chat, Adrian.
Okay, thanks.
Chat request from
Yes.
Mr. Gazale.
Yes, the question from Fabio is if there is a chance to see the installed base in other countries, especially when we talk about larger groups. I mean, at the moment it's set up like this, that the standard users see only the equipment within their region. But I mean, it's a setting, so you can approach us and we can change the setting as well. I understand we have through the consolidation process in our industry, we have more and more large groups where a customer has multiple plants in different countries, and they don't consider our regional setting and our database structure, of course. Then we can surely do it. So get in touch with us, and then we can see what needs to be adjusted to handle this. I think the Elanders example was a nice one. Basically, already today, when you go to your regional sales manager from the factory, all our RSMs have the access rights through all the databases. So if you tell them, hey, please give me all installation of CPI or installations of Pixart or whatever it is, they can provide you the report already today. All right, so these two perspectives were important. MMUptodate on one side, classical extensions, updates, on the other side, retrofits. That's what we are talking about here. Of course, we do not just do it for fun. We have internal motivations and triggers as well. We experience more and more discontinuations of parts from our suppliers. Life cycles, mainly of electronic parts, becoming shorter and shorter. And in sales active machines, it is our clear duty in R&D to maintain the machine, to make sure we replace discontinued parts by successor parts. Just to give you an example, about 30 to 40% of our R&D capacity we invest just to keep the machines in our active portfolio alive. So this is nothing with innovation. It's nothing with new products, new machines. This 30 to 40% only serve to keep the existing machines alive. If we do not do that, within 1 or 2 years, most of the machines will be full of discontinued components. And we have major topics ahead of us. Maybe you can outline, Stefan, the example with the Akupos.
Yeah, there was an example. The Akupos is one thing, but in this Akupos there is 1 or 2 interface cards, I guess, which were not anymore available. So that means in one hand, or could mean not for each machine, but for several machines. For the easier way, you can just replace a successor type of this interface card, sorry, and then it runs. And on the other hand, for a more complex machine, you could most probably change the software to that, and that is a major job to do for our electrician, for our R&D, and this is the tricky thing.
Mm-hmm. So often, just replacing one component leads to some additional activities and tasks we need to do in order that the complete system in the end is up and running again. So it's very, very tricky. Another important aspect is the know-how loss we experience. I mean, many of you have many years of Miller-Martini, which is great. So do we have many long-time employees in the factory, in the service department, which is great. But the problem is if these people go away because of retirement, for instance, we lose a lot of know-how. Felix gave me an example, which is quite impressive. That's why I bring it up here. In R&D, there were, at the same day, 5 retirements. And with these 5 retirements, we lost around 150 years of Miller-Martini experience on different machines. You will easily understand that there is no chance that some younger engineers, which we also bring in, of course, but they have no chance to build up this level of experience these old retired guys had. And that's a challenge to us. And that's also one of the reasons why we need to be very clear on what we can do, also in terms of updates, in terms of retrofits, and what we can not do. And in the end, we have limited resources. We want to have new innovative machines. We want to have solutions for the future needs, for the needs of the digital market. We need to maintain our existing portfolio. We have a lot of legacy pieces. That means we need to manage the priorities. We cannot do everything. We cannot do everything at the same time. It's not pleasant. The ideal world would look different, but it's the reality. And we need to be professional and we need to cope with this reality. Just very briefly, some examples, update and extension packages when we have machines in the active and secured status. When we talk about perfect binders, this can be an add-on of a pure nozzle system, an end sheet feeder, mull station, extension of gathering machines with additional feeders, upgrade a gathering machine with Azure Pro. I'm well aware that Azure Pro is not fully established as an upgrade product, but for existing machines with Azure Pro, this would be a possibility. On saddle stitchers, it's also additional features. For instance, adding a merchandise tipper to make customer fit for new market requirements, so he can produce higher value products to differentiate himself in the market. Adding stream feeders for higher productivity, small size kit, large size kit, center cut, Rio cut, and so on and so on. So you see, there's pretty much we can offer for customers to make the machine fit to their current requirements. When we talk about limited machines, we have mainly the range of retrofit packages to exchange obsolete PLC drives and panels. All the available retrofit packages we have in the Uptodate catalogs, together also with the most frequent upgrade packages. These Uptodate catalogs you find on our MMServices page. Comparison to earlier time, these catalogs do not contain prices anymore. So basically it is an overview on what is available, but you cannot quote out of the catalog, but you're asked to place an inquiry on the single point of entry to receive an offer from the factory. Reason for that is we experienced that these packages we have in the catalog in almost none of the cases is an out-of-the-box solution. So it needs to be dedicated to specific machine generation, to specific machine type, which leads to different level of efforts. Therefore, it needs an expert looking at it, judging the efforts, and that's why we go through the way through this single point of entry. When we talk about this extension retrofit requests, I'd like to highlight just these key points. We have, for every machine, we have a variety of versions and releases in the field. Therefore, a generic statement about the feasibility of extensions and retrofits is almost not possible. And every extension, every retrofit is kind of a project. There are almost no out-of-the-box solutions. When you place your inquiry, it's important that you provide proper data about the installed machine, such as machine type, KN number, serial number, which makes it easier for our support guys to process the inquiry and then to forward the right information to you. And last but not least, my request to you that you do not offer or promote MMUptodate products for obsolete machines or lines. You will see later on there is still quite a number of requests for obsolete machines, which we should stop doing. Obsolete is obsolete.
In the meantime, Adrian, Antonio Reus asked for if you could repeat the comment on upgrades on Azure Pro.
Yes, I can do so. All right. You know that in the past we had Azure 3, which was frequently used for upgrades of gathering machines and on gathering machines and also on saddle stitchers to improve the quality controls. Azure 3 has been discontinued. We actually have a limited number of electronic components on these Azure 3 cameras, and that's why we stopped promoting Azure 3, or we stopped offering Azure 3 for upgrades on gathering machines and saddle stitchers. With Azure Pro, we're basically able to upgrade again, but of course only as a full Azure Pro package and not as a mix of Azure 3 and Azure Pro. Therefore, if you have existing lines with Azure 3, you cannot hook up a few Azure Pro cameras to it. It would need to be changed completely to the Azure Pro. As I mentioned, Azure 3 upgrades in general are not possible anymore. That's what I meant with this statement. Hope, Antonio, todo claro?
Gracias.
De nada. Okay. Extension and retrofit business actually is quite a significant kind of business, and I would like to highlight a few numbers. We have around 800 extension requests every year we process throughout our organization, including the people in R&D, which take care on processing these requests. It's around 20 employees we have taking care of these inquiries. And our MMUptodate revenue is around 8 million Swiss francs end customer price. So it's not nothing. And we aim at really taking up market demands when it comes to the creation of up-to-date packages, as well as when it comes to retrofit. It does not always go as quickly as we would like to have it. Again, with the topic of setting priorities, but we really want to make sure that we have a comprehensive package of upgrades and retrofits. This highlights a little bit the process, our upgrade process. Customer has a requirement for modification, upgrade, retrofit, addresses the market organization. The market organization enters the request on the single point of entry. Our support specialist processes the request. Yeah, there's a spelling a typo in here. Sorry for that. And then either R&D is involved and has to provide additional information, clarification, or the support specialist can handle the request by himself. Answer goes to the market organization. We create an offer to the customer, and then allow me a little bit of fun. Hopefully the customer is happy and hopefully places an order. Now this in very brief words. And now over to Stefan with a few words on our single point of entry.
Yes, I guess all of you know how it works. We launched it about 5 years ago. Why did we do it? That's just simple saying. All of our market organization, that's not negative because you had no way to ask for information. They were calling our internal experts directly into the R&D. I got WhatsApp, I got SMS, I got telephone calls when our colleagues were driving around the country. And this is quite hard to manage for us, or it was quite hard to manage for us. Collect all information, then you had to go and say, what did you really want me to do? And so that's why we said we're going to make a bottle where we put all this information in. And this is then was then created under the name single point of entry. This is not only for extensions, of course, that's also for technical parts and price inquiry, price complaints, and documentation inquiries. So if you need something else, then you can get into this portal. Adrian would probably quickly open it, that you can see it again, how it looks on our portal.
Always the question where it opens. Ah, there, it opens on the right screen. That's great.
So that's how it looked live. And there you can press the right button depending on what you want us to do. And this is then the form where you can fill in everything. I guess hopefully, all of you are aware how to manage this sheet, that we get the information collected. Now we have some interesting figures on this next slide. As we heard a few slides before, it's around 800 plus minus requests per year, and this is for extensions only. So that's not for price requests, that's not for parts requests, that's only requests for extensions. If you see on the right upper statistic, you can see the yellow pillar. that's the technology soft cover, which is most requests on it. That's a fact. So it's between 250 and 400. On the other technologies is quite a balanced request, a number of requests for saddle stitcher that's more or less stable. And what you can see, the green ones, that's decreasing from 2020. That's mailroom systems. Since we informed our customers end of 22 that we will not continue this business for specific jobs and requests, it decreased dramatically. I would say 2024, because all of these requests end on my desk, it's almost zero. Okay, it's only 3 months, but it's almost zero for mail, unfortunately. And on the graph on the right side there, exactly, thank you. You can see how the cook is split up, or the cake is split up. Cook cakes it. Yeah, anyway. And one interesting thing is that we still have almost 10%. In the morning I had to calculate it, now I know it. Almost 10% of this 800 requests are still requests for obsolete machines. And Adrian told it before, it's not the goal because of all these reasons he said before, knowledge, loss of knowledge, etc., that you probably take care about this request. If you get the request and you just see it's an obsolete, if you are not sure if we can do something, yes, of course, put it into the single point request. But if you see it's a 25 years old stitcher or something, I guess you could decide to say, sorry, that's no chance for that. And then you can decline it and say, we cannot do that. Otherwise, you can get probably the answer within 2 minutes. If it ends up on one of our desks that we say, sorry, we cannot do it. But it's still 10% of the requests is for obsolete machines. The other two graphs, it's in the middle, status of requests opened or closed or rejected or completed. That's the most important in 23. So we got most of the requests closed. Why could we still, or why is there still one new? Okay, that's a little bit cheated, I guess. 2 in progress. Yeah, that can happen. That's
status is not updated or something like that. Yeah.
Typical issue can be that the request ends up in a spare part request or the other way around, and then nobody closed it. That's the normal way out this. But fact is, most of them we could complete and give you an answer. Yeah.
Yeah, just to give you a bit of picture on the activities in this extension and upgrade business. So it's still a lot of activity there. And we have a lot of American friends here. And if we take this 4 years, you account for around 1/4 of all the requests or all the inquiries. So you're really keeping us busy, followed by Germany and all the other countries then on a considerably lower level.
Okay.
Yeah, hi Andy, no problem. Nice you're here. And you will always have the chance to look at the recording and to learn everything by heart, what is in the recording, yes?
My team's got it. We're good, thank you.
Your team is there, exactly, perfect. All right, so classification, some words also from Stefan.
Yeah, it's again me. Classification, what does it mean? Back in the day, we decided when we made the first catalog in 2012, plus minus, on the marketing end, that we try to clarify or classify according to the customer benefit, what's in behind this kit. So let's take this operating panel retrofit. If customer makes this retrofit, then he has definitely a higher availability of spare parts. because the old one is most probably obsolete or not anymore available. Ergonomics, okay, if you go from a panel wear as an easy one to a touch, that's ergonomically much easier. For the control system, for example, there's availability, productivity, process reliability. Why? It's much more reliable a new PLC than an old one, at least for the first few years. And that's the way we try to categorize this Redford kits. Another one is an extension which brings you, respectively our customers, to new markets. In this matter, it's a VPN Flex extension on a Vareo, I guess. Definitely new markets for the customer, productivity, quality. That can also be an issue. So that's the way we set these classifications. The further slides, you will see then also how we classified these when you come back to the Drupa booth.
Thanks a lot, Stefan. So that was the section on MMUptodate retrofits. Are there any questions right away? If not, we continue with MMSelect, our agreements. And I start with the famous slide, what keeps the customer awake at night. I think all of you joining Tony Kenny sessions have seen such slides, but to be honest, I think they are really quite helpful to remind us, hey, what are the problems from a customer's perspective? So when we talk about MMSelect agreements, customer might think, well, the hell, I have one binder and that there's no redundancy around. So what do I, no, sorry, wrong side. I have an important job next week. I can't afford a breakdown while this job is running. So hopefully the machine is staying stable and runs. And if it breaks, I lose a lot of reputation. I already lost a lot of reputation during the last breakdown. If the machine fails again and I miss my delivery time, my delivery schedule, then I might lose the print job as I'm not considered a reliable partner anymore. And if the machine fails, what is my backup plan, my business continuity plan? Have I someone in the neighborhood I can send the work out who does it in the quality and in the time I would do it? Who could help me out? And more generically, with these aging pieces of equipment, can I still fulfill the obligations towards my customers, which become more and more demanding, asking always shorter delivery times? Job structures are becoming more complex. What the hell? So I need to make sure that my equipment is up and running and it is in a good state. These are pretty much questions our customers probably might ask themselves and what are concerns for themselves. And that leads me to MMSelect. MMSelect, our agreements, is all about preventive maintenance. And I found this graph, which is not scientifically, but it illustrates pretty nicely what we are talking about. On the x-axis, on the horizontal axis, we have the amount of preventive maintenance. On the vertical axis, we have the total amount of costs. So one customer might decide to do no preventive maintenance at all. When the machine breaks, he has corrective costs, so his costs are up here. If you increase the preventive maintenance, this goes pretty much linear because every day, every week of preventive maintenance has a certain price tag attached. And at the same time, your corrective costs, your break fix costs reduce. And This leads to the green curve where you have the total costs, the sum of corrective and preventive maintenance costs. And we need to make sure that we are in the sweet spot area, that our customer, thanks to the preventive maintenance, has a minimum overall costs. And we all know that our customers are very different, and so are their requirements related to preventive maintenance. We have our classical break fix customers. They run the machine until it breaks. Then they call us, yell at us because we don't have a service technicians right at hand. Well, that's the reality. We cannot have all these people on standby just to fulfill every customer requirement, especially not for break fix right away. And that's why this curve here shows, yes, these corrective costs might be high, because if you have a break, you might give work out to other partners. You have the break fix, the repair costs, which are higher than preventive costs. So this is one approach which some customers follow. On the other hand, we have customers where preventive maintenance is a clear part of their strategy. And now we can guess who is more successful in the long term. I'm fully convinced that these customers who see a preventive maintenance not as a necessary evil, but as a useful piece to their production reliability, to their production, to their risk management, that these customers are more successful in the long term. And MMSelect is predominantly about choice. As we have so many different customers, we have to adapt our MMSelect, our maintenance agreement, to the requirements of the customer. So he is able to choose the level of preventive maintenance which makes sense to him, depending on redundancy of the production assets, depending on the level of utilization of the production assets, depending on a lot of different factors which vary from customer to customer. We can consult him, but in the end, it's up to the customer to decide. Important is that he understands the importance of preventive maintenance as a positive contribution to his business success. And because the levels or the requirements are so different, we have this modular concept which can be tailored to customers' needs, always with the core element of a select agreement, which is a scheduled maintenance. And the customer then can determine the amount of assignments per year, the length of assignments based on recommendations, based on his machine installed base, which machines he wants to have maintained. So in the end, it's something we discuss with the customer, we figure out together with the customer. In the end, MMSelect business, as every business, needs to be good business for Müller Martini. And when we did some analysis of some contracts, not in the countries which are on Business One already for a longer time, we figured out there were quite some contracts which did not meet this target of good business. So we overpromised. We delivered too many hours, too much time in comparison to what the revenue was. That's something we were constantly working at. I think MMUS has this done for a long time already. So this is a process we need to go through, all of us, to make sure that we only have economically sensible select agreements. Otherwise, we need to modify an agreement or cancel it. But lose money on a select agreement can never be in our interest. When we look at how the select agreements are used throughout the Müller Martini organization, we see definitely there is a rather low level of standardization. There is a lot of local flavor, which is okay. In the end, we want to make sure that customers have a preventive maintenance agreement which suits their needs, and the needs are different. We fully acknowledge this.
Yeah, Adrian, we actually had a marketing campaign called You Select, You Decide.
Yeah,
Of course.
exactly. That basically goes exactly into it's about choice. Yeah, you select, you choose, you decide. We consult, but in the end, it's the customer to decide. That goes exactly this direction. In the hybrid training, sales and service excellence, we had this vision statement from Felix, where he stated that by 2027, 80% of all active machines are covered with a remote support agreement and 50% have a maintenance agreement. To be honest, I can't tell you right now where we are with the figures at the moment. In some regions, in some countries, we are very good. In some others, we have a lot of upside potential. Why is this a strategic target from the group management? To increase the number of machines or lines under an MMSelect agreement. We have a number of benefits as a company. It's a predictable, continuous revenue flow for us as a company. Very important, we can plan our service technicians. It's not having them on standby for break-fix operations. In break-fix, you either have too many or too little service technicians. It's never the right number. Therefore, it's very difficult to manage for a service coordinator, the service crew, when you only have break-fix customers. The more preventive customers we have with preventive assignments, the more plannable our assignment of service technician becomes, and also the utilization rate will increase, which contributes directly to the success of our service operations. And last but not least, we are in regular touch with the customer, and not only in a situation of a breakdown where the customer is at 180 anyway and yells at us at the telephone, where we cannot have any reasonable conversation. In an assignment of a preventive maintenance, you can have much more business discussions, much more reasonable discussions with the customer. Therefore, this is now basically a starting point, and we will continue that at Drupa, after Drupa, and this will probably stay with us for the next 1 to 2 years, to work with you on tailored individual measures, region by region, to include MMSelect agreements in the machine sales. If we call it preventive maintenance agreement, if we call it enhanced equipment protection program, as it's called by Tony, that's something we can discuss. But in the end, we need to open the door to preventive maintenance agreements following the warranty period. And then, of course, we still have a lot of existing lines, and to increase the number of select agreements on these lines as well. So be aware or be warned that there will be some initiatives or some activities in this area around. I think in the end, that's really something which is beneficial both for our customers in terms of maintain their productivity, in terms of managing the risks, and it is beneficial for us as Müller Martini. Therefore, I consider this a very important initiative. Okay, now let me become briefly a bit more technical as we talk about these select products. So all the countries with business one in operation, they have these price positions available in the system. We have the first 2 price positions, which are the traditional preventive maintenance positions, Flexo service, maintenance service. They were introduced years ago. We actually aim at replacing them, phasing them out gradually, and replacing them by these products 250 to 253, with the core element being the 250 maintenance agreement, the current product portfolio. And then we have introduced not long time ago these MMSelect agreements, which are clearly defined 1 week per year, 2 weeks per year, 3 weeks per year, or 4 weeks per year. At the moment, they are in use only at MMUS, where they have been used in the old system and for a long time already. But one of the benefits of Business One, these positions and the descriptions to it, they are available in all the systems. So if it helps you outside US to sell an agreement for 1 week and you just take this 0260, which includes clear specifications, clear definitions, then you can do so. And you can price it based on your local pricing. So it's not a predetermined pricing by the headquarter, it's pricing done on the local level.
But Adrian, you got to give royalties to the US if you use that position, no?
Do you have a license on it? I never saw a copyright. Well, we can talk about this royalty. I mean, if it's a beer next time I'm at the MMUS, why not? Then I'm open to it.
You guys would take it away anyway.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the bunch of price positions we have around MMSelect agreements. As I mentioned, we have these well-known established products which were introduced years ago. They should be phased out and be replaced by the E100 250 to 254. Why do we want to have this? The text of these price positions, they are pretty blurry. So it doesn't clearly specify what's part of the agreement and what not, which led to discussions in the past, which was maybe one of the reasons why we had contracts where we didn't really make good money. Therefore, we should phase them out. That's nothing that needs to happen overnight, but we should phase them out after time. We still have some active agreements. I took these figures out yesterday. So around 145 agreements using the 92 and the 96 in the different market organizations. Then we have this new MMSelect products. It's kind of a puzzle. The core element is MMSelect maintenance, which is the active maintenance assignment. Around that, you can wrap, depending on customer needs, you can wrap a pre-maintenance check, kind of an inspection. You can wrap training days, peak season support, and if a customer has some repairs with scheduled repairs, not break-fix repairs, you can also include this repair into the overall agreement. Most of the time, of course, the agreement consists only of the red piece of the puzzle, the MMSelect maintenance. Why did we have them and what are the advantages? I think overall, it's a clear structure of the agreement product, so that leads to transparency. We have a clear description, so the customer knows what he can expect or not. It's about, again, managing customer expectations. And it's a modular concept wrapped around the maintenance agreement base with additional modules. Internally, gives some simplification on the agreement, simplifies the reporting, and in the end, it helps us if we achieve a more uniform handling in all the organizations, despite the fact that we still have the local differences. That's clear. This is an overview again. So on this MMSelect agreement, the blue one basically is the core element. That's the mandatory element. And the rest you wrap, you take it or don't take it for a specific customer. The core scope of the individual positions or the individual pieces of the puzzle is highlighted here. So there is a defined number of maintenance windows per year. We carry out the maintenance by means of defined checklists. It's carried out in accordance with the operating instructions. It's documented in a maintenance report. So what you would expect from a customer perspective from a professional maintenance. The check includes a standardized inspection by one of our technicians, checks all aspects of the line that are relevant to safety, quality, performance. And again, in the end, we have an inspection report. These reports, by the way, will be available in the future also directly in Empower. So the customer has all the reports at hand directly in Empower. Training, an important aspect, considering that our customers have frequent changes in personnel, have difficulties in finding suitable personnel. So we can include training days as part of the agreement to maintain and increase the know-how of the employees of our customers by including a defined number of training days. Then we have to repair. That's for planned repairs, as I said, could also be included in the agreement, and mainly for customers in the digital environment, we can include peak season support, where we ensure the maximum productivity and availability of the machines throughout the peak season. This can be achieved by different means. Either we have people on site, we have people on standby, but definitely before we go into peak season, we need to do a maintenance of a machine to make sure it's on a proper level. This is all an extract of the price position texts, which are part of these price positions, just to highlight a little bit what are the key components. As part of the price position, we also have some general conditions added. We thought that this applies mainly for Europe, that we need to have a minimum duration on site, which is 2 consecutive days. It can be more, but 2 days is the minimum. We need to plan assignments some weeks before. It is that the costs include preparatory post-processing works, travel time, and expenses. This, of course, needs to be calculated accordingly, but it needs really to be a full package for the customer, and no further discussions on who is paying the travel time and what so on. We also need to make sure that people don't work 15 hours a day. This completely screws up our calculation when we have too much overtime costs. Then we can lose all the margin we originally had, and then it's no good business for us anymore. Agreement period is 1 year, and we aim at automatically renewing it if there is not a written termination at least 3 months before the expiry. So these are a bit the guidelines related to the select agreements. I have here an example that's now not for my American friends, that's for my friends from all over the world. I have here a printout of a service quote from MMUS, where I like to highlight a little bit how Martin US as a good example includes this language in the quotation to highlight the benefits such an agreement brings to customers. So we highlight the many years of experience, that we are a strong partner for the lifetime of your machine, maximize the availability, minimize faults and costs. So the few bullet points highlighted, which is very important.
If you had a better editor in V1, it would look prettier.
Yes, I know. But it's already on a good level, I would say. And important is that you convey the message, and you do that. And something we all need to work on, that we really use this language, that we really convey the benefits of the select agreements to our customers. And that leads me to the next point. I said our target is to increase the number of select agreements on our installed base. That's an overview on active MMSelect agreements by yesterday. We see the numbers of MMUs at a very high level with the different price position, 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. We see also quite good numbers in Germany, of course, based on the older price position mainly, but also partly on the new contracts, 250 to 254. MMGB doing well. But we see some countries which are completely missing. Of course, we have Latin America, we have India, we have our non-B1 countries. That's clear, they are not captured here as we only see the data from B1. But there are also B1 data which are not, well, where I see some upside potential. And that's what we need to work it. Okay, Rich actually asks if MMCheck is replacing MMInspect. MMInspect still can go as a one shot. There is this additional price position for MMInspect, which is a one-go assignment, not part of a repetitive assignment. So it is not meant to replace, to be fully replaced by this. So to close with, key messages related to select agreements in a nutshell for our customers. Dear Mr. Customer, select agreements gives you peace of mind. You have less downtimes, you have less risk. You can rely on pre-planned services and you have to worry less about unplanned downtimes. You are considered a reliable partner to your customers, delivering high-quality products on time. Your equipment runs on optimal productivity levels and has a high availability. And in the end, last but not least, it is a good measure, a good tool to protect your valuable assets. These are some food for thought when you go into MMSelect discussions with your customers. That was on MMSelect. Any questions right now? All right, then a short glimpse at our Drupa booth. Over here, we see a layout of our very nice Drupa booth with the yet not disclosed Hunkeler equipment, with our Sigma Line Compact and Taro Infinity book production line, with the Primera Pro saddle stitcher, with the Ventura MC200, with the press, with the VFN 700. Then our cockpit, and over here, our MMServices corner. MMServices corner looking pretty much like this. And that's the walk we have prepared, or we are currently preparing, consisting of 9 stations you can guide your customer through, starting on the MMServices navigator, then having a screen with explanations on MM Startup and MM Improve, following on MM Support, MM Inspect, on parts, and then 5 to 8 are all stations related to MMUptodate and to retrofits. Number 5 is a upgrade for front trim, which we will show a little bit more in detail on the next slide. Same applies to number 6 and 7. Number 8 is retrofit, and number 9 is then talking about MMSelect agreements.
Do you have another question?
Yes, correct.
From Mike Wing.
Well, I didn't say that there's only Hunkeler equipment underneath this cover. So there is actually also a Vareo Pro in combination with Hankeler equipment. So it will be there. You can be Qualm, it will be there. Vareo Pro will be on our booth as well, but it's not it's not integrated into the Sigma and Taro line anymore. It's now integrated into the Hankeler line.
I'm disappointed Mike didn't recognize the silhouette of a Vareo.
Yes,
it's because it's not there. It's not there.
You need to have a serious discussion with him, I think.
Guys, please don't spoil the surprise.
Sorry.
We don't spoil. No, there will be enough of surprise to you. I promise you. This will be a great line.
I'm sure.
All right. So on the upgrades, we give an explanation, or we show examples of our upgrade to the InfiniTrim to show where we can now. With this upgrade, we can process gatefolded covers in the InfiniTrim. This piece of equipment will actually be installed on the InfiniTrim in the Sigma line and Taro. On the services corner, we will highlight this video, show the functionality, maybe with an animation. We will have sample products around as one example for upgrades, which allow a customer to address new markets, because with the InfiniTrim, traditionally you can only produce standard soft cover books. With this upgrade, you can produce gatefolded covers, soft cover books with gatefolded covers, which is making the product even more attractive. So this will be station number 5, this one over here. Station number 6 shows an upgrade of a VPN Flex system with pre-melter. We will have this trolley on display plus the pre-melter on display, and also give some video explanations just as one example out of many how we can upgrade existing machines with additional functionality. Then we have a sample, a live sample of a workbook perforation unit for a Sigma line to show the customers how they can integrate or upgrade either a Sigma line 3 or a Sigma line compact with this workbook perforation unit, giving them the possibility to produce these workbooks, which are often used in student books, educational purpose, also as a proof to how can we modify an existing machine and add new functionality to it. This will be the 3 examples we have on upgrades, and then it's up to Stefan to explain you the examples we have on retrofits.
Thank you. You might all know these panels, I guess. So the old guys or the older guys in our company have seen these machines. That's the Brau Prima saddle stitcher, where we have currently 3 retrofits available in this electronic matter. This is in combination where we can replace the panel, the PLC, and the drives. Depending on the configuration of the machine, you can order these kits independently. So that means for several machine releases, you can only order the panel, for example, and for other release of the machine, it's a must to order the. So if you want to go for the PLC, if it's broken or whatever, it's a must to add the panel on top as well. Why is this the issue? It's depending on the software configuration and on the configuration or the constellation of the machine. If you swap to the next slide, Adrian, then you can see the PLC, what I was talking about. The reasoning behind it's discontinued, of course, as many of its PLCs you can see on the upper level. That's BNR 2005. And as a third step, you can also add the drive on top of these two kits. That gives you then the complete overhaul of the machine. We sold approximately 80 of these kits, not 80 total configured kits, but around 80 kits, which was either configured with the panel, best case with the panel, the drive and the PLC. That's not the latest kit, of course, but that's the kit we can show to a customer that we can also refurbish an entire machine related to the PLC panel and drive. That's why we bring it up again this year on the Drupa. It for the
yeah, and here the drive exactly. Maybe just to go back to the booth. We have here this this display where we have always old and new side by side, old panel, new panel, old PLC, new PLC, old drive, new drive.
Be surprised.
Be surprised. And this way we are using this to basically tell our retrofit story. Okay, and when we come to number 9, the Drupa, MMSelect at Drupa, this is basically, we have some template agreements around. We have a monitor where we highlight the bullet points, the key benefits for our customers. We will, of course, also have this cheat sheet for the Drupa walk, so you guys know what to tell. We have a uniform language. And as this is the last station on our MMServices Drupa walk, we need to make sure that we use Drupa as a great opportunity to promote and sell MMSelect agreements and other MMService products. So when you concluded the Drupa walk, passed by MMSelect station, then you should have some kind of call to action with the customer. What is your interest? What shall be the focus of our service conversation? How can we support you to maintain productivity and reduce your risks? Why not start with an MMSelect agreement? And we would, of course, like to see some agreements signed directly at the booth. So that's what we should work on, as we can convince customers and promote our MMSelect agreements and have some new agreements sold at Drupa.
Before we go to Drupa, Joe Chukla has a good question, Adrian.
All right. Are the criteria attached to an MM check with a report produced to show what we have delivered? When it comes to MM check, that's the inspection checklist basically we are using in the inspect tool, which goes into the in the inspection report, which is made available to the customer. Of course, the level of inspection points depends a bit on the machine. I think you know which machines, or the catalog where we highlight which machines are fully integrated into the MM inspect tool, which ones not. But in the end, after the MM check, the kind of proof of our job that we have done it is the inspection report. Is this covering your question, Joe?
Sorry, Adrian, I'm driving. Yes, it does cover it. I just wanted to know how we differentiate between a check and an inspection, because obviously if we're going to deliver something to the customer, we do need to say exactly what we've done and differentiate. That was not an inspection. That was a check. So
yeah. Okay, so this is a different level of.
But it's the same template.
Yes,
That's
it's a bit.
Yeah. Then we'd have to edit it to say that it's not an MMInspect because the expectation of the customer needs to be different for these two things, and it needs to be clear exactly what we're delivering there.
Yeah, one inspection or the check is basically prior to a maintenance to make sure we are prepared for the maintenance, while the inspect is a one shot where we go on site and carry out the inspection according to the inspection checklist. But it stands for itself. It's not part of the select agreement.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Fabio is also very mindful, huh?
Yeah.
Adrian.
Look on the PPT MM support. Okay. Great. Good. So you paid attention. That's good.
Looks
all right.
like, huh?
Yeah. Looks like.
Plus for fun.
All right. That's the last slide, actually, a collection of useful links. It's pretty much all the links we had throughout the presentation for easy to find and easy reference. And having that slide, it's just it leaves us just to ask if we can answer any questions you might have. That does not seem to be the case. I mean, we're still here also for the time to come, so we are always in touch together. Therefore, oh, Joe is driving. That looks great. Hi, with the Miller Martini background. All right. So no need to extend it any further. Thanks a lot for joining. Thanks for your time. Hope you had some interesting, useful information. As I mentioned, you will get the link to the recording, link to the presentation in the coming days. And if you have anything you're unclear about, get in touch with us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot, and have a good rest of the day. Yeah.
Adrian, I'm going to call you real quick if you got a second, okay?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Ist der noch nicht schade?
Wahrscheinlich, nicht mehr so.
Ist raus, ja?
Ist das? Ja. Mhm.
Ja, so. Ja, durch, wird immer entspannter.
Ja.